welcome back to another online video. So today we would have had a girls group night, and instead of doing it in person, we are still online. So today we are going to be making a twist on something that we have made in the past. We are going to be making our own Play-Doh, but we are going to be making Frozen themed Play-Doh. So if you're familiar with that movie and really like this movie, then I hope that you enjoy this video. I'm gonna go over what you're gonna need today. You don't need a lot, and for a lot of you, you probably already have a lot of these things in your house already, which is super fantastic. So I'm just gonna quickly go over them now. All you're gonna need for the Play-Doh is flour, salt, and water. And then another thing that you're gonna need is blue food coloring. So to make this Frozen themed, you are going to need blue food coloring, but technically you can use whatever color you want if you just want to make plain Play-Doh. And then you are going to need blue and silver glitter. Again, you can technically use whatever color glitter you want, but if you want to stick to the Frozen theme like we're doing today, highly recommend blue food coloring and blue and silver glitter. I also have just a pair of gloves here because I don't want to get blue food coloring on my hands. So as soon as you gather those ingredients and those supplies, we are going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so I have everything that I need out in front of me, and hopefully you do as well. What I absolutely love about this Play-Doh recipe is that it's only 3 ingredients. There are more recipes out there that have a few extra ingredients, but I especially like this one because most of you will have flour, salt, and water in your household already. So let's go ahead and start making our Play-Doh. So I'm doing kind of like a half recipe. If you want to do a full recipe, then you're literally going to double everything that I'm using. So I'll kind of go over that with you as we go, but I'll also leave a full recipe in the description of this video if you need a reminder of what the measurements are. So let's go ahead and get started. We are gonna grab a bowl here. So if you don't have a bowl in front of you, go ahead and grab one now. And then I'm also gonna be using a 1/2 measuring cup, a 1/4 measuring cup, and a liquid measuring cup. So go ahead and grab those as well. Now the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add 1/2 cup of flour in our bowl. Now, if you're using the full recipe, you're gonna be using 1 cup of flour. But for me, since I'm using a half recipe, I'm using a 1/2 cup of flour. So one last time, if you're using a full recipe and want more Play-Doh, you are going to be using 1 cup of flour. I've just scooped my flour in there with my spoon, and I'm just going to level it off using the back of my butter knife. And I'm going to add that to my bowl. Okay, so if you're doing a full recipe, this would be 1 cup of flour. Next, I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup of salt. So that's 1/4. And I'm just gonna pour that in here. If you're doing a full recipe, you would be using 1/2 cup of salt. Again, that is 1/2 cup of salt for a full recipe. But for me, since I'm doing a half recipe, I'm doing a 1/4 cup. So I'm gonna put my 1/4 cup of salt in my bowl. I'm just gonna put my salt aside here. Now I'm just going to mix these together. Okay, now once these are mixed together nicely, we're gonna go ahead and add our water. So for a full recipe, you're going to need 1/2 cup of water. But for me, since I'm doing half a recipe, I'm only using a 1/4 cup of water. So again, that's 1/4. So I'm gonna pour in my 1/4 cup of water, and I'm just going to stir until it forms what looks like a ball of dough. And as you can see, it has quickly come together. So you might run into two different things that could happen. You could get a dough that you find is too wet. You could get a dough that you find is too dry. So in that case, for me, my dough is a little bit wet. So I'm just gonna grab my flour here. I'm gonna grab a pinch of flour and just sprinkle it on my dough. I'm just gonna mix that in and see if it has made a better texture. Perfect. I've just added a tiny bit more flour and it's the perfect consistency for my Play-Doh. Now, if you had the opposite happen, if your Play-Doh ball was too dry, you would then just add a tiny bit more water. Super easy to fix. Okay, so I've just got my Play-Doh here. Then I'm just gonna grab all of it from the sides. Okay, I'm just gonna put my bowl aside here. Okay, so now we have our ball of Play-Doh. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're going to grab our food coloring and our gloves. So gloves aren't absolutely necessary, but I'm using them personally because I don't want blue food coloring on my fingers. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just going to open my food coloring here, and we are going to start adding food coloring to our Play-Doh, and we're going to start molding it together. So go ahead, grab your gloves, your blue food coloring, and your ball of Play-Doh, and then we're going to get started with making the color. So hopefully you have these few things in front of you. My food coloring is actually a paste, and it doesn't matter if you use a paste or the food coloring drops. They both work perfectly fine. The only difference is if you have the drops, you're going to want to make a little kind of indent in the center of your Play-Doh like I just did with my thumb. And you would add your drops of color in there so that it doesn't spill out over your countertop. So I'm just putting on my gloves here. Again, they're not mandatory, but I just don't want blue food coloring all over my hands. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna grab a pretty thick kind of glob of my gel here, of my paste. I just want lots of color in this because I'm going for a bit of a darker blue. So once you have your food coloring in your dough like this, we're just gonna go ahead and start kneading it together to start mixing the colors in. So just using your hands, just kind of get that color around. So there's the color, it's starting to kind of come out there, but I can already tell I'm going to need way more food coloring than what I've put in here. You can go for like a light blue if you'd like to. I want to go for a dark blue because when we add the glitter, I think the dark blue is going to really show off the glitter that we've added. So as you can see, I kind of have what looks like a light blue here. I'll kind of show it to the camera. So I have a very light blue right now. I want a darker blue, so I'm going to continue to add food coloring to my Play-Doh until I've gotten the color that I want. So right now, that's what you can be doing as well. Continue adding your food coloring until you get the color that you are happy with. have just added a bunch of food coloring and I have gotten the color that I was after. I have here about a medium to dark blue. That's the color that I was going for. Of course, if you really want a light blue, you can add just less food coloring to make it a little bit lighter. So now we are at the point where we are going to start adding our glitter. So I'm going to be using silver and blue glitter for this, and pretty much the exact same process as adding the food coloring. I'm just going to make kind of a hole in the center. I'm just going to open my glitter, add it to the middle, and we're going to knead it in until it's all kind of mixed in nicely together without it falling out onto the counter. And if it does, just pick it up with your Play-Doh. So I'm probably going to be using quite a bit of glitter because I really want the glitter to be kind of all throughout the Play-Doh. I want lots of it. So basically what you're going to do now is you're going to continue adding glitter until you've gotten to the point that you feel like you have enough glitter in your Play-Doh. Okay, so I have gotten to a point where I am very happy with the amount of glitter that I have added to my Play-Doh. As you can see, it's sparkling in the light there. It is so pretty. I added quite a lot of glitter because I really wanted it to shine, but it is so beautiful. It looks like snow sparkling in the Play-Doh. It's so, so pretty. I used mostly the silver glitter. I did use some of the blue, but I mostly used the silver. And that is all for this video. So again, if you want to just make regular Play-Doh, you can add whatever food coloring you want, and you can add whatever color glitter that you want. But if you wanted to follow the video and make the Frozen themed Play-Doh, then you can go ahead and follow the colors that I've used in this video, being the blue food coloring and the silver and blue glitter. So that is all for today. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you do make this Frozen themed Play-Doh, please send me a picture of it, and make sure that when you are storing this Play-Doh, that you store it in a really tightly sealed jar or a little Ziploc bag that isn't going to let any air in, just to keep your Play-Doh from drying out. Okay, so that is it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.